we just learned that when the bottom of a fraction is equal to 0, a function is considered undefined. Let's now use that information to find values where a given function is undefined. We will do this by following the steps below. Example 1, f of x equals 2x minus 4 over 4x plus 24. Alright, so our step 1 is going to be the same in all these example problems. Step 1 says set the bottom of the fraction equal to 0. So I'm going to locate that denominator of the fraction, 4x plus 24, and I'm going to set that equal to 0. I do not care about the top of the fraction, so we're simply going to ignore it, okay? 4x plus 24 equals 0. Wonderful. First step is done. Step 2, solve for x. This is our answer in the value of x where the function is undefined. So we're going to solve. We need to get our x by itself. I'm going to draw my line down the equal sign. I'm going to take away 24 from both sides, like so. Perfect. We get 4x equals negative 24. From here, I need to divide both sides by 4. Those cancel over there on the left, and we get x equals negative 6. And that is my final answer. Now, of course, we will have to do a couple more steps for these next two example problems involving factoring. So it has to get a little bit harder, right? So example 2, it says the f of x equals 11x over 3x squared minus 30x. So again, our step 1 is still the same. We take that bottom of the fraction and we set it equal to 0. So I say 3x to the second minus 30x equals 0. Step 2 says factor the equation using the reverse distributive method. Okay, so for this method, what we want to start by doing is asking ourselves, what does 3x squared and negative 30x have in common? Well, number-wise, they both have 3 in common, right? Because 3 goes into 3 one time and 3 goes into 30 10. They also both have at least one letter x. I'm going to put a letter x out there as well. Now for the reverse distributive, we start our parenthesis like this, and we kind of work backwards. We ask ourselves, 3x times what gives me 3x squared? Well, that'll just be x, right? And then we move on to the second term, and we say, 3x times what gives me negative 30x? And that's going to be negative 10. Remember, this still equals 0. We're done with factoring, okay? And now step 3 just says set each part equal to 0 and solve. These are our two answers and where the function is undefined. So I'm going to take this part, 3x, and this part, x minus 10, and I'm going to set those separately equal to 0. Okay, so it's going to look like this. 3x equals 0, divide by 3, we get x equals 0. That's one of my answers. X minus 10 equals 0. Draw your line, plus 10 plus 10. Those cancel, we get x equals 10. One more problem here, example 3. F of x equals 15x minus 1 all over x squared minus 7x minus 44. So again, our step 1 is always the same. We take that bottom of the fraction and we say x squared minus 7x minus 44 equals 0. Now for this one, we're going to have to do the diamond method because it's in this ax squared plus bx plus c form. Okay, so you're going to draw your diamond. We always put our c on top, which is negative 44. And then our b goes on the bottom, which is negative 7. And now, reminder, we want to times to the top and add to the bottom. So we need two puzzle pieces that multiply to negative 44 and add to negative 7. And after thinking, we can see, okay, it's going to be negative 11 and positive 4. Then we need to put this in factored form, which is just with parentheses. So x minus 11, x plus 4 still equals 0. Step 3 says set each part equal to 0 and solve. Okay, these are going to be our answers. So we take those two parts, just like we did in the last one, and we separately set them equal to 0. X minus 11 equals 0. X plus 4 equals 0. Draw your line. We want to get that x by itself. Adding 11 to both sides, we get x equals 11. That's one of my answers. Over here, we're going to subtract 4 from both sides. Cancels. X equals negative 4. Voila. Those are our two answers and the two locations where the function is considered undefined.